Steve Cooper Rank Success, and this is another video for police promotion candidates. And the topic, the nature of this particular video is around strategic thinking and presenting your evidence strategically, and some of the key issues and aspects and elements that make your conversation, your evidence, your examples strategic. Now, it's important to do this, particularly when you're going from sergeant to inspector level. And it's an area where lots and lots and lots and lots of sergeants fail. And it's a bit like they're trapped in a bubble, in a loop that they can't get out of, until either through perhaps a bit of coaching, asking some kind of challenging questions to make you think, or through perhaps downloading a digital toolkit which will do that for you, or watching a promotion masterclass video. It will do that for you. That's what it's designed to do. But the whole nature, the whole essence around it is around adding a strategic element or perspective to your evidence to show that to demonstrate that you're thinking that little bit wider. As a sergeant, it's very much around leading a team. The leadership aspects are very much around being focused around leading a team and moving from that position where you've danced around in the spotlight for long enough, and suddenly you're successful and you get promoted as a sergeant, and bang, the spotlight's turned onto your team, on a group of people, and you're assessed or judged, and the performance is based around how you supervise and lead a team. When you move forward to inspector level, there's very much a step up, if you like, because you'll be leading teams, whether that's virtually, whether that's a department. So it's by definition a broader scope, wider parameters. And so unsurprisingly, that's tested in a promotion selection process or an interview, and through assessing your written evidence if you're putting in a promotion application. So, in simple terms, it's not about talking about a team or a station or an office or just in your area, if you like. It's about stepping back in every respect in order to get that wider scope of things. So rather than just the performance of a team, performance of teams, performance of departments, embedding good practice and sharing good practice, identifying individual, team and organisational learning that comes out of operational incidents or change projects, whatever you're working on. It's about your ability to tap into and to link into and to think about that. And so when you're starting to prepare for a promotion selection process, the strategic element or dimension is important. So what does it mean to you? What are your thoughts about it? And that's what this video is about today. So strategic awareness is something that assessors look for, and putting forward good sergeant evidence, as I've alluded to, simply won't work. So just taking some time to elevate your understanding around strategic and what it means and the context of any evidence you've got is time well spent. You're never going to be wasting that time. Now, often when I speak with candidates, or they send me their drafts of promotion evidence for promotion applications, I can generally spot quite well when they're still in sergeant zone. It's quite easy to do, and it's okay. I mean, it's entirely natural to do that, because what we're talking about is really elevating and changing your perspective around that to be more inclusive of things that might affect performance at a wider level. So when we talk about what the word strategic adds, it will be different for lots of people. Is it just a word that sounds good for chief inspector boards or inspector boards? Is it some magical mystical theme? And it's not any of those things. It's simply the big picture, and I would describe it as strategic is the big picture or the bigger picture. So it's moving from that local aspect to more of a broader consideration. And in simple terms, that's how I would describe it. Now, strategic can mean taking an interest in your own force and the police service as a whole, rather than just your own department or area, as I've said before. Strategy is usually distinguished from tactics. So the big picture is different. So that's about the future, vision, plans, rather than the day-to-day things that are happening, which is around tactics. So again, it's just thinking about it in those perspectives. Strategic can mean a leader who does more, or who does less actually themselves, and gets more done through other people. Because as a newly promoted sergeant or inspector, you're certainly not going to do everything yourself. You can't do everything yourself. You may inherit some portfolio work, and you certainly have to start working differently. So getting things done through other people is one way of working more strategically. So giving evidence or offering evidence about when you've done that, how you will do it, if it's forward-facing question or perspective in an interview or selection process, is important. So getting things done through other people is essentially delegation or delegating, and it's a word that panel members probably won't hear very often, except from people that do get through the process, because they're confident in talking about how they get things done through other people, how they work strategically. And so delegating is one way of doing that. And just while I'm on that, you never delegate responsibility for anything. You only ever delegate your authority. So you lend your authority to somebody to get things done, but you also give them the resources and appropriate accessibility back to you for support, and to kind of query and ask questions, and to allow them to develop as they do it, which is another aspect of working strategically, is getting other people opportunities to develop. And strategic can mean operating along longer time horizons. So as an inspector, part of your role will be to develop and implement plans, and they're often over a long period of time, so 3, 6 months, 12 months. You may have portfolio work, you may have action plans that are reviewed, and there's another aspect there, building in milestones and reviews over that period of time demonstrates and evidences that you're working strategically, and you understand that things can't be done or implemented quickly at all times, but that you can keep an eye on it. So again, the inspector's role is very much around allocating work, but not just allocating it, monitoring the progress and the quality of that work. So that's where the milestones and the reviews come in. And it's one way of you showing how you think about and work strategically. So in trying to demystify some of this, it's just literally about stepping back a bit and saying, well, how do I work in a broader way rather than just leading a team or only leading a team? How many other ways do I kind of support performance and maintain public confidence? And so it's just spending that time that's never wasted, just thinking and reflecting about that through some of these issues. Referring to short-term gains and longer-term performance is another way of doing it. So if you're working for something and you get something done and you get an outcome in the short term, what's the longer-term perspective of that? How are you going to put in place things to mitigate risk, or to ensure that you've got things in place to monitor so that these issues don't arise again. Again, that's just a way of showing a strategic perspective. Now, one of the things I do find with sergeants is that they're not aware of some of these issues, whether it's for a promotion application or it's about kind of lifting the verbal aspects of your promotion evidence, how you talk. Really important part of that is understanding the role that you're going for and being able to talk about and share with the board your knowledge around those functions and dimensions of the role itself. It's an absolute critical issue, because once you know the role and you know some of these aspects about how you work strategically and how the force or your organisation expects you to work, it's a lot more comfortable, if I can put it that way, to be in that position than really wondering what all this is about when you start getting questions asking you about how you're going to look after performance in the short, the medium and the longer term, which is a gift of a question or a gift of an opportunity for a well-prepared promotion candidate. So just taking some steps back from all of that, then, how do you get to that position where you can really add value, or at least start developing your awareness around strategic aspects and prepare yourself for a board going forward. But once you're there, once you're already promoted, how do you keep that going? How can you kind of gain those perspectives strategically and start to learn to think strategically? Because as you go up through an organisation, you do. It is expected of you to be able to develop your strategic thinking ability, and often, learning on the job makes you think that way. So a lot of experienced inspectors probably do tend to think more strategically than they did when they were sergeants, because the nature of the work and the turnover of the work and managing critical incidents and debriefs and development work and getting things done generally involves working strategically. So one of the things that I'm going to just introduce to you, if you weren't already aware of it, it's very well known, but not in terms of preparing for promotion processes, in my experience. So whenever I introduce this tool, and I'll introduce it now, PESTLE or PESTLE, it takes people by surprise, and all it is a strategic thinking tool. So PESTLE is an overview, and it's used by many organisations to kind of think about the issues, the challenges outside the organisation externally that are going to affect the organisation going forward over a period of time. Now, the great thing with this is it can suit you for whatever level of process you're going for. So whether you're going for sergeant, inspector or chief inspector, just like my digital promotion toolkits or video masterclass, they can help you for any rank that you're going for sergeant, inspector or chief inspector. And this tool is a really useful. It's featured in the masterclass, and it's featured in the digital toolkit. So PESTLE is an external way of looking at some of the issues facing the organisation, and for you to chunk it up. So if you look at some of the headings there, it just helps you to look through various lenses or perspectives. So political, economic, social, technology, legal and environment. Now, under those headings, you'll see some text here. It doesn't really matter what's written there, because this is your tool. Once you adopt it, once you use it, if you want to include it, you can start importing things from outside the organisation. So some of the issues and challenges facing policing today, and there's a corker of a question. It's been asked very recently in the last 2 weeks on a board. Would you please just explain your understanding as an inspector of some of the challenges facing policing today? And whatever variation of those questions, this tool, PESTLE, can help you kind of do the work at home in private to start mapping some of those challenges. I'm going to do some other videos as well around this, but this particular tool can help you prepare to think more strategically and to cover the wider or broader issues facing the organisation. So let's just take one of the aspects of that PESTLE model, if you like, or tool, political. So you could just put import under there, not necessarily just stuff from external threats or issues from outside the organisation, but you can also adapt it to include internal themes and issues that you want to consider or bring out or think about as part of your promotion preparation. So political, PCC or mayor plans, what is it in there that will affect you going forward as a newly promoted sergeant, inspector or chief inspector? HMIC and FRS, so HMIC reports and Fire and Rescue Service as they are now. What do they say? What is your force doing well at the moment? Well, that's nice to know. What's your force not doing so well at the moment? Because that's the stuff where you can really make a contribution as a newly promoted leader. And what are the local and the national issues? How do you weigh those up politically? So big P, government stuff, small p, politically, PCCs and local force issues. Economic, so just moving on through that mnemonic of PESTLE. Economic issues, the uplift, there's clearly an issue nationally for a requirement for an uplift of 20,000 police officers. What's the proportion of that for your force? What are your ideas about how they might be used? Resources links very much to your role, whatever you're going for, sergeant, inspector, chief inspector. because it's part of your requirement to manage resources effectively and efficiently. And budgets. Clearly you'll be working within one as a sergeant. As an inspector you may have a budget, a considerable budget. As a chief inspector you're definitely going to have to start slotting into that mindset. And then just moving on to the third one, I won't do them all, but social legitimacy issues. You know, how is your force viewed by the communities within it in terms of legitimacy? Again, the Peel report can help you with that, because it has a theme around inspecting your force around legitimacy issues, and as a promotion candidate you can really get your teeth into some of that and start being proactive verbally with it, forward facing, about how you will and what you will do as a newly promoted leader to help the force achieve its aims and objectives and priorities. Still under there, social, you could import demographics. You know, who are the communities in your force? Where are they? What are their needs? How do you know that? And what are you going to do as a newly promoted leader to maintain public confidence and accessibility towards policing services? And of course mental health as well. So I mean, you can import anything you want under there, but this is a great tool for you to think strategically and to start mapping out some of those issues. And as you can see, you could probably start doing that on one side of A4 and get a really good overview of the strategic issues and themes that you might need to think about, or you should really be thinking about, before you put yourself forward for a promotion process, or if you've already done that, to start fine-tuning and honing your experience and your examples and your evidence to try and include a little bit more of the strategic aspect to what you do. Okay, well that's it. It's one of my longer videos, 16 minutes, just looking at the timer there, but I will be back with some more videos on this theme. And if you are thinking about downloading one of my digital toolkits, don't forget I've got free blogs, free videos like this before you even have to spend a penny, so to say. But there is a discount code there, RSGuides20, which you can use for any of my products, any at all, whether they're bundles or individual guides. Until then, I'll be back with another video. Take care. Thank you.